We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3, and here are the stories making headlines.
The official unemployment rate is representative of the 8.2 million people who are unemployed and actively looking for employment.
The number of unemployed people in South Africa has gone up. Nigerian national pastor Timothy Omotoso has been released in the Department of Home Affairs' immigration laws contravention case. And Eskom has implemented stage 2 load shedding during evening peak hours from today. Good evening and welcome to Prime News on 3. A pleasure it is to be in your company this evening. I am Paulette Nell. Let's begin first with this leading story. The number of unemployed people in South Africa has gone up. Stats SA data shows that the official unemployment rate increased by 1 percentage point to 32.9 in the first quarter of this year. The largest job losses were reported in the private household, trade and mining sectors.
It's a bleak picture that the first quarter employment data paints, as even more people are unemployed. The number of unemployed persons has gone up to 8.2 million. The expanded unemployment rate, including those that have given up looking for work, has gone up by 1.2 percentage points to 43.1% in the first quarter.
The official unemployment rate, which is sitting at 32.9%, is representative of the 8.2 million people who are unemployed and actively looking for employment.
Kosatu says while the high unemployment is disappointing, seasonal factors could also be at play.
This is for the first quarter of the year, so it reflects normally a little bit of a post-Christmas holiday, post-festive season slump, so to speak. There's normally quite a bit of a pickup in the fourth quarter of the year because that's Christmas. The retail sector, the tourism, the hospitality sectors have quite a bit of a pickup.
Economists say the answer to improved employment prospects lies in better economic growth.
When we look at the level of employment relative to the size of the economy, we see that it is at a reasonable level when we compare it to historical trends. In other words, we need to now grow the economy to justify further employment creation.
Young people continue to be the worst affected by unemployment, with Stats SA data showing that those aged between 15 and 34 years who are not in employment, education or training increased to 45.1% in the first quarter of this year. Gloria Sefakomusi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Nigerian national pastor Timothy Omotoso has been released by the East London Magistrates Court in the Department of Home Affairs' immigration laws contravention case. The magistrate found that the Department of Home Affairs failed to have Omotoso appear in court within 48 hours of his arrest, that the 48 hours expired at 7 a.m. on Monday. Omotoso was arrested at the East London CBD on Saturday, got detained at the Mdantsane police station over the weekend, and made his first appearance at the East London Magistrates Court on Monday afternoon, which was a couple of hours after the expiry of the 48 hours which he was supposed to have appeared by. The Department of Home Affairs is yet to comment on the court's judgment. Eskom has announced that it will implement stage 2 load shedding during evening peak hours from today. Load shedding started at 4 p.m. today until 10 p.m. on Thursday this week to ensure supply during working days. Eskom says the intention is to manage a limited generation capacity. The decision follows the delayed return of generation units amounting to 3,120 megawatts, as well as an additional loss of 385 megawatts in the past 24 hours due to unplanned breakdown. The power utility says the primary reason for the setback is the delay in the returning several units from a planned maintenance. Political parties have reacted to the 49 Afrikaners who have left South Africa and acquired refugee status in the United States. They traveled to the U.S. over the weekend after taking up President Donald Trump's offer to move there as refugees.
The National Congress registers its firm rejection of the United States government's decision to grant refugee status to 49 individuals self-identifying as Afrikaners. Let it be categorically stated that there are no Afrikaner refugees in South Africa. No section of our society is hounded, persecuted, or subject to ethnic victimization.
The economic freedom fighters is not fazed by the departure of 49 self-proclaimed Afrikaners who have been welcomed to the United States of America under the Refugee Resettlement Program. In the appreciation of the EFF, we view this as nothing but part and parcel of a deliberate campaign by the United States of America and Donald Trump to try and characterize South Africa as a nation that is perpetuating a non-existent genocide.
It is a sad day when Afrikaners no longer feel welcome in the country of their birth and find it necessary to leave South Africa. However, there should be understanding for the decision that they took, because we need to look at all the policies and all the measures in South Africa that make Afrikaners feel unwelcome and unprotected in the country of their birth.
As the PAC, we respect the right of every South African to relocate or immigrate, but that right must not be exercised on the basis of false claim. Saying you are being persecuted when there is no such threat undermines the true democratic reality of our country.
Welcome back. We continue with this. The bail hearing of the 54-year-old man who allegedly shot and killed a Walter Sisulu University student has been postponed to Thursday, May 15th. The presiding magistrate says that this is due to a pile of other cases that are before the court. The suspect allegedly shot and killed a 24-year-old Sisonke Mbolekwa, while two others were injured during an unrest at the university. The students were complaining about poor living conditions in their residences. When questioned about the firearms recovery in Port Alfred instead of Mthatha, where the crime occurred, he informed the court that he went to his mother to disclose the day's event and asked her to keep the firearm. Scholar transport woes in the Northwest Province remain far from being resolved. While the Department of Transport in the province says that over 50% of the outstanding invoices has been processed and paid, service providers say that the backlog persists as many invoices remain unpaid.
The non-payment of scholar transport operators and its adverse impact on learners remains a burning issue as many payments remain outstanding.
There's no payment that is coming through, is drip by drip. So we are experiencing a very serious challenges as service providers, and we up to here. They're treating us as comeback.
The department is just ducking and diving. Every week they say they will pay, but until today, nothing is happening. But the department isn't blamed for anything. Everything is blamed on us because we have to transport the learners. They do not acknowledge that we don't have money.
The Provincial Department of Transport has attributed payment delays to recent technical issues with the basic accounting system used for payments.
On the day of payments, we had received 928 invoices, and to date, 552 have been processed. We experienced a system failure which affected processing of payments. As a result, we have requested Treasury to allow us to disburse 2 payments per week instead of 1. We are currently using a manual invoice tracking system which is problematic and prone to errors.
While 85 million rand was allocated for scholar transport this financial year, there remains a shortfall of approximately 150 million rand. Sintle Inglihihi, SABC News, Mahikeng.
The National Human Settlements Department has brought in building construction experts to look into whether or not an abandoned housing project expected to yield over 3,000 social housing units in Tembisa can still be salvaged. The housing project in Hospital View on Gauteng's East Rand, which was initiated in 2018, would have provided much-needed accommodation to thousands of families.
The housing structure was left incomplete and neglected for years. The project was expected to yield over 3,500 housing units, but the housing units are yet to be completed. For years, no work was undertaken and the structures has now fallen prey to vandals. Some of the contractors' hires for this project claim to be owed millions, which is among the reasons the project stalled.
We have worked, but we've never been paid since 2021 till up to date. So our workers, they are after us. Our workers, they want their money. We've been forced to go to the bank to loan the money to pay the workers that they can be off our back.
Gauteng has a huge housing backlog, with some putting it at over 3 million. And the project was expected to help reduce this backlog and provide the much-needed accommodation to residents.
Issues around project management and all that, which cause a bit of a delays. Today we are happy that some of the people that were responsible, there has been certain consequences. They are no longer in the environment. We've brought in the new HOD to actually turn around the situation.
The Human Settlement Ministry says they will engage building construction experts to determine the structural integrity of the units and if work can continue to complete them.
We have taken the initiative with the Deputy Minister and the MEC. As I've indicated earlier, we've brought our team of NHBRC to come and test the structural strength so that we could be able to be basing our report.
Earlier this year, Simelane indicated that the department will prioritize finishing 270 blocked projects and 90 distressed social housing projects. Nonhlanhla Njingela for SABC News, Ekurhuleni.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now on to this. A forensic artist has provided the Pietermaritzburg High Court with composite sketches of the reconstruction of the accident scene in the death of Chief Albert Luthuli. Warrant Officer Sunette Nell used the drawings to dispute the evidence presented in the first inquest in 1967.
Using these drawings that were presented in court, Warrant Officer Sunette Nell explained in detail the work she had done as part of the reconstruction of the accident scene. Nell told the court that she relied on the report from the original inquest, as well as new photographs and videos taken by investigators. Nell told the court that based on the evidence gathered, she was of the opinion that Luthuli was assaulted and not struck by a train.
The calculations is significant in showing that there was sufficient time for the perpetrators to have assaulted the deceased and subsequently carried his body across the bridge from the north to the south before the locomotive would have crossed the bridge.
Nell further explained how she had created different scenarios that could have resulted in the accident to test the original evidence. She testified that she studied the post-mortem report and the injuries sustained by Luthuli to create the drawings. Based on these, Nell says she determined that the version of events by the original witnesses was improbable. The court also saw images of injuries sustained by train accident victims dating back to 2016. Nell told the court that the evidence rather points to Luthuli having been assaulted.
Overall conclusion, the injuries sustained by the deceased are more in line with the defense wounds, while he was defending himself against an assault. As a result of the assault, he became unconscious. The assailants then dropped his body onto a railway track in order to make it seem as if he had been a victim of a train accident.
Nell's evidence corroborates that of 3 experts, including a crime scene expert who testified in the inquest. In addition, she mentioned that Luthuli's clothes were still intact and he was wearing his shoes, which further supports their findings of an assault. Ayanda Mhlongo, SABC News, Pietermaritzburg.
May 13th is remembered as the day former Minister of Justice Jimmy Kruger announced the release of political stalwart Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe from detention. As part of remembering the day and Sobukwe's contribution to the fight against the apartheid government, the Khalishiwe Youth Network and a local company, Native Minds in Kimberley, are running a campaign to honor the freedom fighter.
Known to have organized and launched a non-violent protest campaign against past laws, a move which led to him being arrested and imprisoned for 9 years at Robben Island. Upon his release in 1969, Sobukwe was banished to Khalishiwe Township in Kimberley. The community of Kimberley has embarked on a campaign to keep the struggle stalwart's legacy alive.
Sobukwe died for the ANC today to lead this country. This country would have been something else had Sobukwe been alive, because even the apartheid government recognized Sobukwe as one who was fighting for a just cause.
While in Khalishiwe, Sobukwe articled his law degree with the help of a local lawyer. He subsequently started his own practice in the 1970s. Sobukwe used this building as his law office. The establishment is still being used by locals as library and an art center to develop local youth.
He was a servant of the people and he had a very deep love for his people. So taking from that, that's why we started an organization called Khalishiwe Youth Network to serve our community, to serve the youth of Khalishiwe and the Greater Northern Cape.
His life is now, they are correct to honor him, they are correct to remember his memory.
Native Minds says they aim to take the campaign nationally to other provinces, including Gauteng, Western Cape and Eastern Cape. Thabiso Khadebe, SABC News.
Time now to see what the weather has in store for us. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. Time for us to look at those conditions over the country now. We're still expecting a high pressure system over South Africa. That is why it's quite clear most of the country. Just partly cloud conditions as we move into Limpopo and also Mpumalanga for tonight and also for tomorrow. Morning fog patches as we move toward the southern parts of the Western Cape, and also those morning fog patches are expected over parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga, which means that visibility will be reduced over those places in the morning. So please, let's be careful, especially as those will be on the road. Looking on now to Thursday, still expecting clear conditions over most of the central parts of the country, stretching all the way into the Western Cape. It is partly cloudy as we move towards Limpopo, with a 30% chance of showers and rain expected over Polokwane, stretching to Musina and also Palaura for Thursday, and also for Friday, at that 30% chance of showers and thunder showers still expected over parts of Limpopo. It is quite clear as we move towards the central parts of the country, stretching into the Western Cape, where it's becoming warm for Friday, stretching towards places such as Alexander Bay and also Springbok. It is going to be a cool day over the central parts of the country, especially over Free State, stretching into KwaZulu-Natal for Friday. Now let's come back to tonight and look at our minimum temperatures. We're expecting a minimum of 0 as we move towards Sandland, which means that it's freezing for tonight over that interior. 8 over Upington, 6 will be your minimum as we move into Kimberley, Bloemfontein and Bethlehem. 10 over Pretoria and Polokwane Musina at a minimum of 14. Maximum temperatures for tomorrow, it is quite a warm day as we move towards Limpopo, especially over Palaboro and Musina, with an average of 25. Cool conditions over Johannesburg with a high of 21. It is quite a warm day as we move towards Cape Town. We're expecting a high of 25. Sunderland, freezing for tonight. For tomorrow, it is a cool day with a maximum of 24. That's all the weather I have for you. Stay tuned.
That concludes our time together this evening. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, good night and God bless.